White House economic advisor Hassett, in an interview with Fox News, says, "I'll present a list of deal priorities to Trump on Thursday." And Hassett says we have offers from 15 countries.
Right. We're getting into it now. We're already starting to get news.
China scoops up Brazilian soy as trade war with the US worsens.
Let's go ahead and set this all up. Bam. I'm really liking the new music. It's Chrono Trigger remix. I've been playing OC remix music the last, I don't know, few, like dozen or so streams. Man, I remember listening to OC remix like a decade ago, and man, it's a lot of good music. A lot of good music that I'm very fond of from a bunch of different video games. And it's very nice to hear these songs in a different style. And yeah, looking forward to listening to more of it, because there's so much OC remix music, man. So we'll probably get to hear some cool stuff in the streams going forward here. All right. Let's go ahead and let me quadruple check. Also turn down the music a little bit. I want to make sure it doesn't ever get too loud. It needs to stay background. Just let me know if it ever gets too loud, alright? Alright. Switching over to the monitor. Here's the latest trade that I put on. It came down here, went back up, because we got some good news out of Australia and some good news out of Europe. Let's see here, where is it? Was that Aussie dollar rises after Chinese stimulus report? That's the main one right there. Updated guidance on China tariff rates. BOJ offers to lend government debt on the spot. Let's see here. Isn't there some Europe stuff? Yeah, here it is. ECB Villeroy. Trump policies in recent weeks have eroded confidence in the US dollar. It is good that Europe has kept its cool during talks with the Trump administration over tariffs. There's room for talks in the coming 3 months over Trump's tariff situation. Trump's tariff pause decision is less bad news, but still bad news elements out there in America. And let's see here. Traders slash bets on ECB cuts. 67 basis points expected. If you go and you check out the
White
euro,
House economic
this thing
advisor
popped.
Hassett tells reporters, "I expect a lot of movement with world leaders in the next 3 to 4 weeks."
Oh, yeah. And then this is China responding to tariff stuff. We will never accept extreme pressure or bullying from the U.S. All right. Hassett asked if tariffs are a permanent situation. Everyone expects 10% tariffs to be the baseline. Okay. There was another bit of news we got a while ago, but it doesn't seem like Financial Juice wants to load it. Way over here, we got some news. Right, it was that news that, okay, we're now going with the EU is also halting their retaliatory tariffs.
And Hassett says Trump never had any other intent than getting people to the table.
So,
and says that the bond market added a little more urgency to the tariff decision.
Yeah. So made some money on that short there. After the stream was done, that was a very good trade there. It didn't catch that run up here. Didn't catch this run up. Wow. It would have been a much better deal for me to be long New Zealand, huh? But net, good things in store for
Hassett,
the
when
Aussie
asked
head
if Trump was
generally.
trying to control the market, says Trump believes in the future of America.
All right. I'm going to turn down the squawk a little bit here. Okay, anything coming down the news feeds here? Well, yesterday's pause announced does not relieve China-U.S. trade war. S&P move underscores belief the endgame proving less harmful in present day. Let's go ahead and check out equities. Wow. Look at that rise. Yeah, that's right. It was a 10% move on the announcement that instead of enacting the full brunt of the tariffs, because of all of the negotiation offers that the U.S. Trump administration has received from over 50 countries, that as an act of good faith, he's going to only enforce a 10% across the board tariff over the next 90 days. And then after the 90-day period, if no negotiation for each country is agreed to, then the country will go back to the original tariffs that were announced earlier here in April. So 90 days, countries have 90 days to send their tariff team over to the US and get a deal done. Otherwise, they'll be stuck with some really bad tariffs. Hey, Wealth Academy. Best stream on YouTube. Do you use AI agents? Not all that much. No. Not for this part here in trading. When it comes down to chucking like an outlook into a bit of analysis, like some kind of bank report, sure, you can do that. But I find that once the report is like 8 pages plus, AI summaries tend to miss major details and nuances that are actually quite important for you to learn and know. So, don't get me wrong. There are some probably very good AI financial services out there, but I'm not too sure what they are. I know there are a few guys that are building trading robots with AI, but you got to be very careful with that, depending on the statistics that you're using for that AI. Depending on how the AI is made, I don't know if you want to technically use an LLM model for time series information. There's a bunch of quants that I follow who have pretty in-depth discussions that, frankly, can go over my head. I'm quite familiar with what they're talking about, and if I don't, I try and learn.
At 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we expect comments from ECB's Bush at the SGH Warsaw School of Economics.
All right, cool. But yeah, I don't personally use AI agents, my man. I mean, outside of Grok and doing a little bit of research and watching some fun memes here, obviously that's definitely AI. G's world is closing in on him. Apparently there's a military coup going on in China. The Chinese military is removing Xi loyalists from certain areas in power and putting military loyalists in there. So if the Xi economy slows down significantly, there could be a serious test of Xi's control over China. All right. Let's check this out. When China entered the World Trade Organization 15 years ago, real wages. Yeah, so this is from Hassett.
Well, I think his first goal always was to advantage American workers. Remember, when China entered the WTO, then for the next 15 years, real wages in the United States went down by about $1,200 cumulatively. So all those cheap products didn't make welfare better off for American citizens because wages went down by more than prices because of the low demand for American workers.
Right.
And so what President Trump's been doing is he's been trying to drive up demand for workers, drive up wages so that real welfare improves, and he's highly confident that this policy will accomplish it. Right. There's going to be a lot of disruption for China right now because they've been dumping cheap goods into the U.S. And doing so, I think, as a strategy that it has national defense implications. And so what's going on right now with China is that the ships that are filled with Chinese products don't know where to go. They're stuck in port. The factories that are making the Chinese goods are going to have to slow down because they don't have ships to load the stuff into. Right. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on China to stop its bad acting and to come to the table.
Yeah.
Well, that's the plan. All right, so let's go ahead and check out these equities here. So, pretty low volatility following the spike up higher. You know, so much for Black Monday, right? We'll see if the recovery continues from here. It seems like so far we've had a fade. Wow, the New Zealand stock market just did a huge rip. Huh. Australia stock market. You know what I'm starting to notice? You see this dotted black line right here? That is something built into TradingView that shows you yesterday's closing price. Look at where this black line is on the S&P. Look at where it is at on the NASDAQ. Oh yeah, that's right. That's these closing prices right here. Gotcha. All right. So we're not that far off. Let's go ahead and check out Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a nice snap up as well. Good recovery. Also on all the altcoins, everything had a nice jump up. Gold even went higher too. That's nice to see. And oil even jumped up on that. Sweet. Oil's back hanging around 60.
Shortly expecting comments from ECB's Bush.
All right. We'll probably end up watching the euro here. Super close.
Secured overnight financing rate 4.42% April 9th versus 4.4% April 8th.
Yeah, man. Euro has been killing it today. Aussie New Zealand. Euro CAD. Wow, the euro is killing it against the CAD. Ooh, the CAD is getting weak. The CAD is getting a lot weaker here. Did we get some economic data on the Canadian? No. All right, in about 30 minutes from now, we're going to be getting US CPI and jobless claims. So stick around. We're going to have a busy stream today. All right. Increasing the volume of the music a tad. This track is just a little soft. Let me know how you guys like the music. So far, so good. And also, it'd be a good time for any Q&A here. So, what other assets can we check and
ECB's
look at?
Booch says more needs to be done to remove barriers to banking integration.
Of all the assets, dollar yen. So dollar actually recovered here quite a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. It totally faded. But I was not expecting to see the dollar strengthen against the yen in this scenario. I wonder exactly why that happened. So let's see here. What are our expectations for CPI? Let me go ahead and open on a new tab here. You know what? Because you asked about AI, let's go ahead and try out Grok here. What are the CPI forecasts and expectations? What are the forecasts and expectations for today's CPI print? What is the scenario analysis for the event? And let's go ahead and have it think. This is for you, my man, AI Wealth Academy. Also, not expecting the stream to crash. Restarted the computer last time worked and prevented a crash in like the stream before the last one. So restarted it today. Go ahead and see if we have no hiccups today. Man, it's taken a long time to think. No crazy news here. There we go. All right, forecasts. Consensus forecast is 2.4% year over year, 2.5 to 2.6%. Scenario analysis. If it comes in below expectations, signal inflation is cooling. This scenario is likely to be bullish for financial markets. Gives the Fed more confidence to ease monetary policy. Fed is likely to maintain its current stance if CPI comes in as expected. I mean, I could have told you this. This is incredibly... That's kind of lame. But that's effectively, yeah. Anyone who has a decent head on their shoulders is effectively going to have this in mind for today's CPI expectations. Not hard. At least not if you at least know what the hell you're doing. Go ahead and adjust things a little bit here on the mic side. Do. Yep, another quiet track. So that's talking about oil, talking about Russia. Activist investor.
Also a way to invest in a very actively engaged manner, whereby you have, activist investors who take large positions, call it 5-10% of a public company, and then work behind the scenes to engage with the management team and the board to unlock value for all shareholders.
Yeah, not interested. Wow. Let's go ahead and actually check out things on a daily chart. And isn't that impressive? So much for Black Monday, huh, guys? So much for Black Monday. That's why in my stream I put Black Friday in air quotes. Man, Nvidia's up 20% from the last trading day. Yeah, wow. Apple 15%. I mean, they're going to be gapping down. All these equities are gapping down. But there's pretty good expectations that if that US CPI comes out at consensus or lower, so long as it doesn't come in at like 2.7, right? If it comes out at 2.6, it might put a damper. But if it comes out essentially 2.5 or below, we're going to have Free Willy here. And yeah, 2.7 and higher, you're going to have a harder damp on these assets. So things are probably going to go flat for the next 22 minutes or so. Yeah. Let's go ahead and check out the FX heat map, see what's moving. Yeah, there's the euro lighting up bright, bright green. Let's see here. Yen is doing all right, except against the Swissy, and the Swissy seems to be the big winner today. And the big loser seems to either be the US dollar or the Canadian dollar. And all things considered, it looks like the US dollar is doing worse, looking at these numbers here. And then the second worst is Canadian. And New Zealand's doing pretty good. New Zealand's doing pretty freaking good today, man. And this is the heat map for the last day. Look at all that green. Microsoft did 10, Google did 9, Meta did 14. There's the Nvidia at 18, Apple at 15 that we saw, Amazon at 11. Everything is jumping 5, 10, 15% here on the recovery day. And if that CPI comes out good, I could imagine we get another day that looks a lot like this. Maybe not as big of numbers, but probably going to look pretty similar. And then here's Bitcoin. Yeah, you have XRP, Ethereum, BNB, Solana, Bitcoin, all doing well. Doge is up 8%. Wow. Now, all these coins doing pretty stellar. We don't need that. Oh, that's just a random indicator I was trying to check out. Let's go to the economic data. 19 minutes before we get into the headline here. How are we going to burn all that time? How? I mean, we could talk about trade plans, but either you're already in a trade or you're going to hop into a trade as soon as the CPI is actually done. It's the difference between playing in position and out of position in poker. Either you have the cards and you're waiting for a reaction from the person betting against you, or you are getting bet at and you're trying to just play things safe. I used to play a ton of poker. I used to do like 6, 8 tables at a time, multi-table. And it was a lot of fun. And eventually, after quite a bit of practice, I got pretty good.
Cut deposit rate to 2.25% on April 17th, say 61 of 71 economists. And the Eurozone economy to grow 0.8% and 1.2% in 2025 and 2026, previously seeing 0.9% and 1.3% in the March poll.
Yeah, man. Those were fun. I learned to play some pretty decent poker. Learned to play some pretty decent poker. And if anyone actually wants to play any poker, I know Ari and I do play poker quite frequently in the Discord group chat, and you know, maybe we can get a couple of other guys to come in and play poker with us, you know, with the fake ships. No real money, just come hang out, chat, see how good at poker you are. Man, I gotta say, the more I played poker, it did help me get a better grasp of the kind of game theory like probabilities I have to wrap in my head around, like, okay, here's all the information I have available. Internally, what do I calibrate as the probability this works out? What's the likelihood that this next trade I'm going to take actually works out? And there's plenty and plenty of videos you can watch on YouTube where people talk and pray and they say all sorts of stuff about, oh man, you know, you can take a pro poker player and turn them into a trader, or, oh, I was a pro poker player and now I'm a really great trader. You know, there's a lot of extra information that goes into trading. It's just different information. So it's not like, okay, if you know how to play good poker, you can trade. It's the skills and the mental gymnastics that you learn in being a good poker player can be transferable into a lot of the same actions that you do. The analysis can be transferred into the actions that you do in trading. It's not one-to-one, but it builds the muscle. It's like going to the gym, right? You're not going to be, you know, bench pressing or literally deadlifting weight like the way you do in a gym at a warehouse doing warehouse work, right? Or at any other manual labor place. You're not literally going to be doing the exact same kind of work that you're doing in a gym versus a labor job. However, you're working out and exercising and strengthening the muscles in the gym that you use for the labor job. You just use them in a different fashion for a different purpose. And maybe you have to do different movements to get your job done, but they are similar enough to what you end up doing at the gym that it builds your muscles and help protects you while you're working and allows you to keep up your endurance and not come home, you know, exhausted as shit. Same thing with poker and trading. Sure, some of it can literally be translated one-to-one, not very much of it. But it's a very good, I feel, and my personal experience has been using it as a way to kind of sharpen your mind. And especially when you do multi-tabling, if you can try out multi-tabling, I find that can be quite analogous to keeping your eye on multiple charts at once. Because you're thinking, okay, I have a different strategy on this table and a different strategy on this table, and this table's losing and this table's making money, and there's a couple of sharks that I need to watch out for and a couple of fishes that I need to watch out for at the table. And it's the exact same thing in trading. It's like, oh, this central bank is about to do a move here. Oh, we just got this economic surprise. We got this geopolitical surprise. We got this new trade deal related thing. Being able, it's a way of skilling yourself to keep your eye on multiple different balls in a concentrated fashion. You could call it multitasking. Really, I just see it as a way of getting faster at doing your analysis. Getting faster. It's like training, right? Because the faster you can do your analysis consistently and accurately and see good performance out of it in multi-tabling poker, I think that skill can be quite transferable into keeping your eye on multiple different news sources, on multiple different charts, without getting distracted are reacting slowly and prioritizing either different tables or different charts when they need to be prioritized. But the way you learn how to do all that stuff is by practicing, by actually trying things out, by seeing if your trading expectations match up with what actually realizes in the markets. That's where I recommend people go ahead and they read outlooks from a bunch of different trading institutions. So if you actually go to the Plan the Profit Discord, and this is free Discord, no trial, no paid stuff, no nothing. Go ahead and go over here into the Discord. Link to it's in the description. Just join the WAP. And there you go. Here's the Outlooks research channel. There you go. And also, these are links directly to the publication. These aren't like PDFs that you download here in this Outlooks channel. I'm starting to find more and more servers are sharing PDFs directly from these institutions. And generally speaking, you can do that. However, I go out of my way to just share the public-facing URLs. Because if in a lot of research, you're not supposed to be redistributing. And redistribution is downloading it, sending it out. But this is first a free channel that you can just get access to if you
According
hop
to a
into the
Punchbowl
server.
reporter on X, they expect US House Speaker Johnson and also Senate
Johnson's
Leader
speaking.
Thune to do a presser this morning in which they say they are committed to finding a $1.5 trillion in cuts.
Whoa. So they're expecting to put the US into a $500 billion surplus. Because the US spends about $1 trillion, right? They have $1 trillion deficit about. So maybe they're talking about deficit. Maybe they're talking about like the sum total. We'll have to see when they do their announcement. That'd be very good for US fiscal policy. Very, very good for US fiscal policy. Here's a little trick. Go ahead, read these outlooks for like the week ahead, month ahead, and review what it is you learned throughout the week. See if the events that unfold in the following week actually occur from these outlooks. So when you read these outlooks, they go ahead and say, oh, we expect XYZ asset to be up. And then you get some news saying that negatively impacts that asset. Well, do you still stay long the thing because one of these outlooks from like 5 days ago said be long it? No, there's new information. So you learn to update your expectation, and then you can start to think, oh, we're getting another edition, another weekly edition of these outlooks in like 2 days. Let me think about what they're going to say, how the bank or the institution will update their
In
expectations.
10 minutes time now at the bottom of the hour, we see the release of the US CPI.
Yep, we got it before it's actually released. And then when it actually comes out, let's see how well things match up. What I think they're going to say to what they actually say. And my rule of thumb is, generally speaking, it's a good sign that you're able to set reasonable trading expectations if you can duplicate and stay ahead and anticipate what these outlooks are going to say in the first place. That's my rule of thumb. And when I got to that point, I found I had a lot more consistency in my trading. Because now I was thinking on my own. I'm taking in the news, I'm taking in the information, and I'm like, oh, that's going to change this thing. And I know XYZ Bank and ABC Bank are going to write outlooks talking about how this is going to impact inflation or growth or employment in like 2 or 3 different countries. And at that point, it becomes a lot easier to actually figure out what to expect and how new information changes that expectation. And after you get into the habit of that, right? Remember at the poker drills, you want to be thinking fast on your feet. As soon as you take in that information, your brain's going to work at lightning speed and think all that stuff kind of like in a second or two. And then you're going to immediately think, oh, I need to be long or short this or that asset. And things move pretty fast at that point. So when you see these guys who are really good traders and they can't really teach someone else how to do what they do, it's because in their mind, they have this internal model in their head of all the things they've learned throughout their life. And it's not easy for them to just plunk all that information out of their brain and put it into you. But slowly over time, if you do stuff like read these outlooks, you'll pick up things every other outlook or multiple things every other outlook. And so long you stay on top of the wire, the SWOG, you will start to ingest new information to create your own expectations and sometimes get ahead of things, right? Take your own damn trades, set your own damn expectations, and become truly autonomous in your own trading. Right? How does that sound? It sounds pretty good, right? I mean, I sell tools and I sell a trading group. But if you're good at doing what I just said, there's plenty of people who do okay just doing that. Now, I'm not too sure if you'll be in that category yourself, right? That's a pretty hard category to get in, and it takes a long time to learn really everything you need to know, right? But that's why I have the indicators to build some kind of guardrails, help set expectations a little more easily. Some pricing expectations, some momentum expectations, some trend expectations. And then as you learn more over time, maybe you explore some other tools. Maybe you go ahead and you're like, well, maybe I want to change asset classes from trading FX to trading equities, right? But you see how I bring up equities and bonds and crypto and commodities and FX in the stream? I can talk about all those things competently because I read outlooks from all these different institutions. And literally the main limitation on what I can trade is what I can just be putting my focus on personally. I can't actually snap my fingers and be in and out of positions in certain asset classes as soon as I get the information and I know what I want to do. Then sometimes markets have already moved significantly in reaction to that news. Speed is very, 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 very important in trading. Not just speed in execution, but speed in being able to see what's around the corner. A lot of the deal with being a good trader is essentially being a professional fortune teller, a professional forecaster. You're just trying to calibrate your expectations so the probability of you being right lines up with the probability of an event actually occurring. That's called expert probability assessment, or yeah, that's just called calibrated probabilities. And if you go online and you search up calibrated probabilities, you'll see it's like a whole field of research. There's a particular guy that I brought up in another stream. He wrote something called The Dictator's Handbook. And he actually used to do risk assessments for the CIA. And he would get a whole bunch of experts into a room and do a bunch of stats and game theory analysis to find out the likelihood of a coup happening in a particular country, of a central bank taking on a specific policy. And they do this huge, deep analysis. And when they made an expectation and said, hey, 90% of the time, we have like 90% confidence in this particular event, guess what? 90% of the time, they were correct, which means whenever they stamped on one of their forecasts, we are 90% confident, only 1 in 9 of those forecasts with the 90% confidence on them was actually, in hindsight, wrong. So they said 90%, and the reality was 90%. And the CIA to this day probably still pays them a lot of money. Oh, man. Let's see here. We got about... So that was an interesting story. I think I filled up the time pretty well there. We got about 3 minutes until CPI comes out. I'm going to be watching Aussie on the stream because this is what I got exposure to right now, you know? But we'll also check out the rest of the assets as new information comes out. Oh man, Eurodollar is up another 50 pips on top of the 100 it made. Man, this thing is just kicking ass, man. Really wish I had the long here, but I'm glad I got out of this short for a nice, juicy profit there. So hopefully things just move forward here on Aussie catching a little wind, right? Main thing is I'm not losing any money. Let's make sure of that, all right? Let's make sure of that. And you make sure of that too. Make sure you aren't blowing cashola here. Also, let me make sure I'm in the stream voice chat. Also, we have a new channel in the Discord. This newsfeed here. It's literally just the Financial Juice bot. So whenever something important prints, we can forward this to people inside Discord and into the relevant research channels and forums that we have going on to stay on top of stuff. All right, let's go ahead and turn Financial Juice back on. Here we go. I'm gonna pull this up on a 30-second.
One minute remaining. I'll be leading with US CPI year over year.
Here we go.
Trump on Truth Social says the big beautiful bill is coming along really well. Republicans are working together nicely.
Big beautiful bill. All right, let's make some money, guys. Oh, we had a move lower there.
Ten seconds.
All right.
Two spot 4%, 2 spot 4%, lower than forecast, 2 spot 5%.
All right, 2 spot 4.
Month over month coming in now, minus 0.1%, minus 0.1%. That's lower than forecast, 0.1%. Core CPI year over year, 2.8%.
Eurodollar's about to do a 200 pip day, guys. Eurodollar's about to do a freaking 200 pip day.
Core CPI month over month at 0.1%, 0.1%. Lower than forecast, 0.3%. Initial jobless claims, 223K, 223K as expected.
It's about to do a 200 pip day, man. Eurodollar's about to do a 200 pip day. Absolutely.
Look to the markets for the weakness in the dollar, strength in the S&P 500. Again, headline and core CPI numbers coming in lower than expected. Jobless claims as expected. US short-term interest rate futures rise after the data as traders add to bets on Fed rate cuts following the cooler than expected.
And you see that boy
numbers.
fly? Ooh, man. 50 pips in just the last hour. It's pretty good. Come on, Aussie. Pick up the volatility. All right, that's what the dollar looks like right now, guys. Making new lows. And testing out these prior lows made here at the beginning of April. And yen is continuing to strengthen. Let's go ahead and check out, actually, let's just check out the dashboard here. Yeah, man, everything is getting dollars is getting smashed, man. Dollars just getting smashed. And crypto is holding up pretty well.
On the feed for those interested. For those users that were monitoring the calendar at the time of that release, apologies for the delay with the data appearing there. We did experience some technical issues.
How's oil doing? Oil is doing A-OK. Gold. Gold's going, it's climbing a little bit. Volatility is a bit lower compared to this chunk of data, right?
The US Supercore CPI minus 2.243%, minus 2.243%.
Pre-market, we haven't seen any moves higher here. We haven't cleared the negative gap on the CPI here in the pre-market. Man, I really wonder how markets are going to open here. But yeah, we're going to have a 200 pip day. We're very likely going to have a freaking 200 pip day here on the euro dollar. Man.
So US Supercore CPI year-over-year again at 2.86% on the prior 3.78%, with the Supercore month-over-month at minus 0.24% on the prior 0.22%.
Yeah, check that out. We had negative 4.56 yesterday, and today we have negative 3.48 right now. So yield spreads are going less negative here on the euro. So there you go. You're getting a positive move there. Let's go ahead and check out what people on X are saying. Oh man, everything's just whizzing by. Updates are coming galore. What's this guy saying? It's not about tariffs, nor about any country except one, China. It's about forming a trading alliance led by the US to choke the dragon, which is China. This will be a group effort with over 70% of global GDP. In addition, alliance members will be mandated to spend 5% of the GDP on the defense to prevent total war by preparing for total war. Oh. Wanted to click on that.
Massive move to the upside yesterday. The 9.5% move in the S&P 500, the 12% rally in the Nasdaq. So you could see kind of some tapering coming into play today. But again, great numbers.
$1.2953 US after the March CPI data.
223,000 in line with expectations. So overall, looks like the job market continues to hold up, which, Kevin, you've pointed to as well before. I also want to give you some credit where you talked about that peak pessimism and needing something to kind of move the needle on that. You're right.
You guys got to know that reference, right?
Well, remember, you have to be able to understand that peak.
Let me see if I can pull it up here. Nah, I don't have it here. Let's see. Maybe it's over here. Yeah, here it is. We pause the music real quick.
Even Bear up there.
That's cool. That's all right with me.
Do you have any?
He's gone. Don't do that. Stop. Stop.
Stop.
Stop that. Charlie. Stop it. Stop. What? Do you have any idea what you just did?
Oh, come on, we just made the deal of our lifetimes. We should celebrate.
You just bet against the American economy.
Fuck yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Which means, if we're right, people
lose homes. People lose jobs.
People
People
lose
lose
retirement
homes.
savings. People lose pensions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I hate about fucking banking? It reduces people to numbers. Here's a number. Every 1% unemployment goes up, 40,000 people die. Did you know that?
No.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
We were just excited, you know.
Just don't fucking dance.
All right.
Oh, one of my favorites, man. Check that out, man. Euro is killing it. Yep, 200 pip day. Probably in for a 200 pip day. So let's see here. What else is there to do today? Amazon CEO says doing everything they can to keep prices low. If the large correction is over, better times are likely coming. So first day return after correction, 1 month ahead, 3 months ahead, 6 months ahead, 12 months ahead, all of it's super green. And the average is 30% at the end of the year for the S&P 500. Missing the best 10 days of the year can crush returns. That's right. Reminder, 2,145, why you don't sell after the worst days. Oh, yeah. And it seems like the big one was energy and transport prices that brought CPI lower. Let's see here. Food at home rose in the US. Anything else that rose? Utility piped gas service. That's it. Gas and food at home. That's it. All right, I guess we'll follow up and see if we get any more inflationary spikes in the US on some of those other series. We'll be watching, that's for sure. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy on tariffs. It's too early to see change in consumer behavior. We're doing everything we can to keep prices as low as you are seeing. All right, nothing crazy. We have some posts here from CDU or the CSU. Today, the CSU was the first party to unanimously decide that we accept. What is that? Or yes, it was well founded. Don't know exactly what that means. Right. Nothing crazy here. Let's just give that a refresh. And jobless claims came in as expected, just a little higher. A wee bit higher. No follow through. No follow through on the price movement. See, this is why you don't dance. I mean, Euro's holding up here. DXY, not so much. Yeah, New Zealand zipped back down. Did we get any news? Traders boost bets of a full percentage point of Fed policy cuts by end of year. Whoa. Odds of a May cut are probably pretty high then, if that's the case, right? Let's check out CME Watch. Okay, let's go to May. Still 86% chance of a hold. I don't know if the next two prints are all right, because remember, the tariff pause is for 90 days. The negotiations are for 90 days. This meeting is in that time period. So if employment and inflation and growth in the US are okay, I'd expect these odds to go higher for a rate cut here in May. Hello, Dakar. Good morning, my man. We had some awesome moves in currencies. How's crypto holding up? It's just holding. All right, so nothing terribly crazy here. Maybe we'll see some follow through in the hours to come. Yeah, maybe we'll see some follow through in the hours to come. Yeah, equity indices holding up. Pre-market is still lower on a lot of these assets. So we'll see if there's a bounce higher. A second day rally. I'd expect there to be a second day rally. And that is pretty nutty. Good trades all around for the last week here, trading this volatility. I know a lot of people who've said that they've been getting killed on these trades here. But I've been doing these streams live, and I've been taking a lot of these trades live, and I've been doing A-okay. You know, sucks to miss this, right? But that's why I feel comfortable, like, okay, I'll take a shot on the Aussie. I feel cool on that. Yeah, I just wonder how markets are going to follow through on that big top wick. Who knows? Maybe the growth scare theory is starting to come through. Where now growth expectations in the US are going to get revised higher again in outlooks and expectations over the week ahead. And we actually see some dollar strength come through, potentially. That'd be interesting if we start to see revisions higher for US growth, at least over the next quarter to 2 quarters here. There's definitely going to be more scenario analysis type outlooks, definitely over the next month or so. Just breaking down, hey, this is what we think is going to happen for, like, in a scenario where trade deals are getting done, we expect this GDP. When trade deals are not getting done, we expect this GDP. Right? That kind of scenario analysis. And I'm kind of surprised to see we're not at higher prices here on a lot of these assets. I mean, don't get me wrong, Euro's kicking butt right now. But equities are still drifting a bit lower. I thought Fed rate cut odds would increase even further for me. Let's see here. That's a big one. I think the pause adds more uncertainty in the long run, but gives the market some optimism. Fed may still want to wait until things ease. We are on a more certain path before they step in. Well, the Fed is interested in market stability. Cutting in May now might be a good idea, because that would bring US yields even lower. That would stimulate more growth in the US. That would also weaken the US dollar more. So net, you know, if you're not getting your growth scare and you're not getting rise in unemployment and you're not getting a rebound in inflation, I don't see why the Fed wouldn't start signaling that they're going to look into cutting sometime at the end of April, maybe early into May. I wouldn't be surprised to see odds of a cut starting to get priced in more. If the economic data still comes in good for the United States. I don't see why not they wouldn't continue their cutting cycle. Considering the rest of the year, so you have June, July, September, October. So June, cut. July, cut. Actually, we can just go here. I think compare. There we go. The probabilities. Yeah. So next meeting, hold, cut, 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 and then hold in October, and then cut again in December. So the holds are here for May and October. Yeah, you can see there for October, 25% odds of another cut there. So unless there's a cut that's done in May that shifts all these lower, you know, I don't think we'll be below 300 basis points here on the Fed funds rate. But I wouldn't be surprised to see at least another 100 to 150 basis points more of cuts this year, depending on how well the U.S. economy does. And now I'm leaning towards 125 basis points of cuts. Is this actually going to load now, or let's reload this one more time. Let's see here. All right. 12-month inflation as measured by CPI slowed to a 4-year low in March. That's pretty good. Another big drop in airfares in March pulled down core inflation. Shelter was cool in March, matching the lowest monthly print since 2021. Looking at core CPI in March, yeah, everything's moving lower. Powell soft landed the economy into an airport destroyed by Trump. What that guy said. Oh my God, he did it again. Fed needs to cut now. Let's see here. Did he actually post that? That was it says April 10th on that timestamp. Yeah, that's April 10th. Today's April 10th. So where's the post? Did it get deleted? That's interesting. And so far, currencies are holding the few gains that they had. Nothing crazy yet. Nothing crazy yet. And I was expecting to see a bit bigger of a hold up higher on these moves here. So I wonder why this move is getting faded. You guys have any theories as to why these moves could be getting faded? Because that was a really good CPI for risk on. And Euro took it and ran with it. So I wonder what's up. I wonder what's up. Let's go ahead and check out equities. They're holding, but not crashing. And it'll be very nice to see if equities have another up day today. That'll be very, very nice to see. And it'll give a lot more people hope of a V-shape recovery. Let's see here. Anything else? Tariffs will likely push inflation up and lower U.S. growth trajectory for the next 2 years. But am I going to put their numbers in my model? No, because I trust my data more. My high frequency / survey data. In a world with so much uncertainty, using structural models to estimate the impact of tariffs on inflation or GDP seems like a waste of time. Shocking your model with a shock that may not happen is probably worse than doing nothing. At this point, we don't even know whether a shock we're scared about is going to happen. It's far more valuable to pour resources into collecting alternative data that helps capture the real response to uncertainty. Yeah, I like this thread. This is why we follow smart people. This is why we have smart people in our lists. CNN headline, U.S. inflation fell in March better than expected. JD Vance retweeted that. Incredible news, inflation even lower than expected. There you go, Vice President.
I know you said that the EPA is already reinvigorating America's clean coal industry, right?
Clean coal. I still can't get over that.
Yes, this is from President Trump's mandate earned by the American public's vote November 5th
the EPA
to unleash energy dominance. President Trump created a National Energy Dominance Council with multiple agencies working closely together, has declared an energy emergency, and has been in the weeds on individual projects. He cares about getting pipelines, keeping coal plants open, nuclear, AI, and the list goes on. And meeting after meeting inside of the Oval Office to advance this agenda to unleash energy dominance. At EPA, just over 4 weeks ago, we announced what amounted to the largest deregulatory action in the history of the country. Just one agency was able to do that. Why? Because at the end of the Biden administration in 2023 and 2024, there were all sorts of regulations coming out. And as it related to the coal industry, the Biden EPA was trying to strangulate the coal industry out of existence. What we are announcing is that we are reconsidering all of these different rules that were put in by the Biden administration, and we want a smart policy that both protects the environment and grows the economy.
All right. I like the sound of that. And this is the guy running for the Conservatives in Canada. Over 2,500 patriotic Canadians rallied in Brampton last night to stop the crime by bringing jail, not bail, for violent repeat offenders on April 28th. Vote for change, vote for Conservative. These are some pictures of him. That doesn't look like 2,500 people, man. It looks like a lot of people. It doesn't look like 2,500. Let's see here. Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, we probably don't want to full screen this one. Copyright and all. Tariff game. Yeah, 25% tariffs. Retaliates.
병신 걸렸네.
30-day pause. I remember trading this. Reciprocal tariffs, April 2nd.
탈락이야, 병신아. 개쇼하지 말고 일어나.
Mexico. Oh my god. Margin calls. The US dollar. VIX 60. Gold. Treasuries. Alright. He's got blood and whatnot. I'm not too sure YouTube will be too happy to see that, but yeah, that was pretty funny. All right, let's see here.
Coming in under -1/10 on headline, -1/10. We're expecting the exact opposite. We were expecting up 1/10, -1/10. Well, we equal where we were in May of 2020 to find a lower number. Here all the way to April of 2020, the heavy COVID-affected months of the calendar. If we take food and energy out, still coming in on the under, up 1/10. We're expecting triple that number, up 1/10. Well, that would equal where we were in June of last year. To find a lower number would be 0 in January of 21. These are definitely low numbers. Coming in under.
What's this, Trump the anime?
死んだは初めて俺に伝えている。絶望の匂い。
Oh my god.
面白いこと見せようか。ほら、こんなにガチンが多すぎて。
お父さん。
あかん。
ドナルド君。まだ死ぬ時じゃないでしょ。
アメリカ、万歳。ファイト。
絶対負けないよ。
何度つらいだって。
ゼロ。だってまだサンキュー言ってないでしょ。一回も言ってください。
おい、仲良くしてね。この世界、季節にいけるかな。
Okay. Okay, we're gonna full screen that. Oh no, don't disappear on me now.
初めて俺に伝えている。
絶望の匂いだ。
面白いこと見せようか。ほら、こんなにガチンが多すぎて。
お父さん。
あかん。
ドナルド君。
まだ
死ぬ時じゃないでしょ。
アメリカ。
American koi fish.
ファイト。
Yeah, there you got Musk.
絶対負けないよ。
The JD fans.
ゼロ。だってまだサンキュー言ってないでしょ。一回も言ってください。
The Vance memes, man.
仲良くしてね。この世界、季節にいけるかな。昔グレートだ。
The McDonald's did, yeah.
大きにまたグレートになるかな。あのさ、有名人は誰かのマンコを掴んでいいさ。そうそうそう。
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. You know, if you're someone you can take hold of. Oh my god. The subtitles there, man. Oh, that's just hilarious. Oh my god. That's too funny. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the Discord. I'll put it in off topic. That was pretty funny. Oh man. Oh boy. All right, how are things holding up? They're still exactly where they haven't moved at all. Things haven't moved at all. Euro's down it's pulled back like about 10 pips. Not a big deal. S&P is still holding in there. Let's turn the music back on. Oh man. And I'm having a fun time on this stream. Yeah, I never either. You know, there are a few really highly acclaimed, critically acclaimed anime, and you know, I've decided, okay, I'm just gonna watch like what's technically the best of the best. And outside of a few movies and a couple of shows, right? I can't get into it. It's just I don't like most anime, man. Just can't get into it at all. Mm-mm. So I'm in the same boat as you, Ari. Yeah, I haven't watched My Hero. I watched Berserk and Evangelion. Let's see here. Ghost in the Shell, the TV series. Yeah, I haven't watched that one either. Jujutsu, yeah, I haven't seen that one. I'm not watching Naruto. I'm not watching One Piece. It's like those are too long of shows for me. Yeah. I didn't really enjoy Evangelion. Like I get the point of it. In fact, you know what I did like? I did like the new movies that they did. Until it got into them going into the space boat. Right? Into the flying boat. Essentially, I really liked how they redid the show. I wish they included there was one scene, the dance, right? The dance fight. I was like, oh man, they totally cut that one out. I wish they did that one in the new movies. Yeah, I like, you know, it's just I didn't see too much character development, frankly. You know, can't relate at all with the Evangelion characters at all. So, not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. I watched it. I'm like, okay. And I'm glad I didn't watch it when I was a teenager. I would have been a lot more like, what the hell is this? So I'm glad I, waited and put it off for a long time, frankly. Yeah, I lost the plot. I'll rewatch it someday. I don't know if I'll rewatch it. Berserk, the Berserk animation show was all right. But then I think it's, let me see if I can recall the name of it. Yeah, that's it. The one that I truly enjoyed and I plan on rewatching is Cowboy Bebop. That one I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed Cowboy Bebop. And I'll be rewatching that one. That's one I like. And then there's a lot of good movies too. So it's not like totally anti-anime, right? And not only that, there's a lot of really good commentators and entertainers now that are VTubers. A lot of girls are doing VTubing nowadays to keep their identity anonymous. There's a lot of very, very entertaining VTubers around. I don't watch anyone particularly. It's just like when they show up in collabs with people who I already watch, it's like, oh, okay, there's a VTube, right? Like when Bricky played Halo with that cockroach, I think, if I recall correctly, like some kind of insect theme. I always thought that was funny. But yeah, nothing crazy on the FX side of things. Prices are holding up. not necessarily for the pound. Wonder what's going on there with the pound. But yeah, not... What's this? Future Prime Minister? Oh, Nigel Farage. Oh my God. Nigel. Cigarettes. Beer. He's got a cigarette in his hand. Yeah, someone noticed that too. Yeah, no, I'd rather Nigel not be prime minister. I'm following commentators in the UK. I'd rather go with Low, right? The guy Nigel is trying to put in the ground effectively. House Speaker Johnson speaks on decision to pull budget resolution vote.
Tails us taking a hard scrub of our government, figuring out where we can find those savings. And our ambition in the Senate is we are aligned with the House in terms of what their budget resolution outlined in terms of savings.
That's quiet.
The speakers talked about $1.5 trillion. We have a lot of United States senators.
Let me see if I can find it somewhere else.
And we're certainly going to do everything we can to be as aggressive as possible to see that we are serious about the matter, not only of making our federal government more fiscally sustainable, but also
oh God, it's only in one ear there.
To a lot of our members in the Senate, and I know to his members in the House. So we're ready to move forward. I'm hoping that the Speaker and his team and his House colleagues can succeed today, get the budget resolution passed, and that will set us up for the next step in this process, which enables us to achieve all the things on President Trump's agenda, including those I just outlined, but absolutely essential that we work really, really hard to see what we can do to make government smaller, more efficient, and more accountable to the American taxpayer. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks.
Oh, it's already over. Let's go to Financial Juice. Oh, we have a new Trump post. Nope.
U.S. Senate Majority Leader Thune says a lot of senators see the $1.5 trillion savings as a minimum.
So budget vote was canceled. All right, let's see what his reason is.
Good morning, everybody. We wanted to give you an update. It's a very positive one. As you know, you've been following this for the last many months. We've had a lot of very deliberative conversation and deliberation amongst members. Everyone's been involved on the House side and on the Senate side as well. We had some of those deliberations as recently as last night, and it's very productive. And I'm happy to tell you that this morning I believe we had the votes to finally adopt the budget resolution so we can move forward on President Trump's very important agenda for the American people. This process has required a lot of close consultation between the White House and the Senate, and all of that has been necessary because we want to make sure that we
has now ended.
Yes, we know that.
We're delivering on our shared goals in the budget reconciliation process. Our big, beautiful bill has to reflect all of that, and so it is big, and it involves a lot of
turn off the music so you can hear it maybe
areas
a little
of
clearer.
policy, and so it requires a lot of close coordination. Our two chambers are directly aligned also on a very important principle, and that is the principle of fiscal responsibility. We are the party that delivers and ensures that. So we have a number of aims here. Our aim is to deliver on our promises in this big, beautiful bill regarding things like border security and restoring peace through strength, and American energy dominance and regulatory reform to get the economy really humming again. And of course also tax relief, tax reductions. We have to make the tax cuts permanent, and that's all involved and enveloped in this big effort, and all the other promises and priorities we made. Now, it's important to note that at the same time, we also need to achieve the maximum amount of savings for the American people, because that's what fiscal responsibility is. And we even want to start reducing the deficit. So with all that in mind, our first big, beautiful reconciliation package here involves a number of commitments, and one of those is that we are committed to finding at least $1.5 trillion in savings for the American people, while also preserving our essential programs. The Democrats are out right now trying to make hay out of the fact that we're going to gut Medicaid and all these other things. It's simply not true. We're going to protect the essential programs for everybody who's eligible to receive those, and you'll see that reflected in the final bill. But I think it's very important for us to note that we'll be looking for $1.5 trillion in savings, and I can tell you that many of us are going to aim much higher and find those savings because we believe they are there. We want to make government more efficient, effective, and leaner for the American people. And I think that will serve every American of every party, and we're happy to do that. This morning, we'll take the next big step in that process, and I just want to say I'm very happy to have our partners in the Senate working so closely with us as one team, one unified team, which is very important for us to deliver on all these objectives. And I can't tell you how much I thank Senate Majority Leader
things are moving back
Thune
up
for his principled, steady leadership and his resolve through this entire process, and I'm delighted to yield the podium to him next. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning. Lot of work been going on here the last few days, but what I can tell you is that I think, as you know, last week that there were 51 Senate Republicans that passed a budget resolution that seeks to accomplish all the things that the Speaker outlined. We are all aligned on the need to make the 2017 Trump tax cuts permanent, to restore American energy dominance, to grow our economy, and to make a generational investment in our border security, and also make sure that we are ready militarily to deal with any of the threats that the country faces around the world. And those are all things that are addressed in this budget resolution, which is why it's really important that we act. The budget resolution, as you know, is the first step. It unlocks budget reconciliation, which is where all this can be achieved. But one of the principal objectives in our budget resolution and in the House's, as outlined by the Speaker, is spending cuts. We have got to do something to get the country on a more sustainable fiscal path, and that entails us taking a hard scrub of our government, figuring out where we can find those savings. And our ambition in the Senate is we are aligned with the House in terms of what their budget resolution outlined in terms of savings. The Speaker's talked about $1.5 trillion. We have a lot of United States senators who believe that is a minimum. And we're certainly going to do everything we can to be as aggressive as possible to see that we are serious about the matter, not only of making our federal government more fiscally sustainable, but also deficit reduction, which is critical to a lot of our members in the Senate, and I know to his members in the House. So we're ready to move forward. I'm hoping that the Speaker and his team and his House colleagues can succeed today, get the budget resolution passed, and that will set us up for the next step in this process, which enables us to achieve
so are these just
all
delaying
the things
it?
On President Trump's agenda, including those I just outlined. But absolutely essential that we work really, really hard to see what we can do to make government smaller, more efficient.
So they didn't come out and flat out say much of anything. Let's turn the music back on. All right. I think that's going to be it for the stream today. Things are rocking and rolling. I look forward to seeing how U.S. equity markets open. They open in about 10 minutes. No? So let's see what the initial reaction is going to be. Right? Yeah, they open in about 9 minutes here. Oh, and we're getting Fed speak coming out here shortly too. All right, so we'll stay on for the market open. We'll stay open for Logan's speech. And then we'll call it a stream. Man, the music's a lot more kick-ass today. Good playlist. Yeah, but I bet those speeches are happening much later today, right, Ari? Yeah, they're happening like 3 to 2 hours later. And then tomorrow, we get a bunch of European inflation stuff. I might just do a stream for this. Oh, Lagarde speaks. And then core PPI. God. Yeah, there's a lot of events going on tomorrow that can push us to have a more volatile Friday. All right, let's see how these markets open. White House economic advisor Moran, President Trump policies are working, keeping inflation at bay. All right, nothing crazy there. And any posts? Nope. All right, 5 more minutes. Wow. If you can believe it, says CEO of Servo, Simply Smarter Investing. You can believe the S&P 500 is flat over the last 5 trading days. Did you watch the college basketball final, national championship? I don't know. All that matters is the final score. If you watched the market over the last week on a minute-by-minute basis, you most likely drove yourself crazy. Even checking daily as fear-inducing, you might have thought we were heading down 20 or 30%. We still might, because that's always possible, but not yet, and not in the last week. 3 things happen the more often you look at your portfolio. You will see declines more frequently. You will exhaust more of your reservoir of courage. And at the depths of a serious decline, when it matters more than ever, you might be out of resolve, might bail out at the worst time and pay an extraordinary cost. I think people view the don't look at your portfolio too often advice as lazy and unsophisticated. Nothing could be further from the truth. My advice, stop looking at your damn portfolio so much. It can become a compulsion, and like other ones, it's not healthy for you or your wealth. It's not going to make you a better investor, and it's not going to make you more money. Stop the madness. Investing will work if you let it. That's a pretty good tweet, man. Pretty good post. Are we back to essentially having our 200 pip day here on the euro? I wonder. All right, we're going to have the heat map open. We're going to look at the first 1 hour change here. We're going to have this open. Market's open in about 3 minutes. How good is live financial juice on Discord? It's lagged by, I think, 15 seconds or so, 5 to 20 seconds. So sometimes it's very fast. Sometimes it takes like 10 seconds to print, 30 seconds to print. So overall, not the worst thing in the world. Tariff, more Squid Game memes. Tariff off, tariff on. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Navarro. So Navarro is saying Dow is going to go to 50,000. Right? See it when I'll believe it when I see it.
So we're shortly expecting comments from Fed's Logan, who gives welcoming remarks at a Dallas Fed event. Again, the registration link is attached to their entry in the calendar. Also at the top of the hour, so at the bottom of the hour, do get the US market open and the markets on open imbalance.
All right, let's see how equities open.
So we're looking now to the market on open imbalance. S&P 500 sell side 825 million, Nasdaq 100 sell side 37 million, Dow 30 sell side 154 million, Mag 7 sell side 35 million. Text release from Fed's Logan now. Important to keep any tariff-related price increases from fostering more persistent inflation. Says if higher inflation expectations get entrenched, the road to price stability is longer and economic scars are deeper. Says for now, the stance of Fed policy is well positioned. Higher than expected tariffs would very likely raise both unemployment and inflation. Says financial markets have been volatile and a sustained burst of inflation could lead to a rise in inflation expectations. Fed's Logan adds that inflation persistence will depend on how quickly companies pass through cost increases and if long-term inflation expectations remain well anchored.
Well, I don't want to stay on for another hour on the stream. Said we'd stick around for Logan's speech, and so far, Logan says if higher inflation expectations get entrenched, road to price stability is longer, which has me thinking, hey, on Friday...
Breeden says, I worry about what's going to happen to the exchange rate.
Yep. Has me thinking, hey, this Friday, we're getting University of Michigan consumer sentiment, which is going to have inflation expectations. So if inflation expectations in the survey rise, then guess what? That's going to solidify Logan as on the more hawkish side, potentially. Yeah. All right, we'll see and follow up with how markets do today. See if it's another green day. I'll go ahead and I will see you guys in a bit. Thank you all for watching. Of course, if you've been watching this long, you've already liked and subscribed and all that stuff. So if you are hanging out here, I'll see you guys in the Discord. We'll have a fun day, fun trading day, hopefully, for the rest of the day. And tomorrow, a good end of the week, where we'll start doing research for the week ahead. So make sure you're in the Discord so you can work on doing some research with an actual group for no charge. All right. I'll see you guys in a